Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about how to navigate your first 90 days in the Philippines. Stick around. Alright guys, so in this video I thought I would talk a little bit about how to navigate your first 90 days in the Philippines, and hopefully you can learn from some of the mistakes that I made in my first 90 days when I moved out to the Philippines. This can be applied whether you're moving out here or maybe even just giving it a test run, coming out for 6 months or even just a couple of months. You know, you can use these same principles. Behind me here I got my motorbike, if you guys can see it here. Just did some final upgrades on it, put on a crash bar and everything, and some new aftermarket shocks. This bike is complete now, and I probably will keep it another year maybe, and then probably sell it, maybe 6 months or so, I don't know. I haven't really decided, and upgrade to a Honda ADV. That's my long-term plan. By the way, this video that I'm doing today, you can also find the written form of it in a blog, probably a little more comprehensive and detailed, in my geointhephilippines.com website, where you can find this blog and others. Anyway, what I'd like to talk about is the first 90 days. And so upon arrival, a lot of people, I think, make a mistake. And for example, they're going to spend a month or 2 months out in Cebu, for example. A lot of people will just go on perhaps Airbnb, and they will just book a condo or a place for a whole month or 2 months without really knowing for sure, other than going off of reviews and everything on, you know, they go off of that and they go ahead and book long term. And really, in my opinion, what you should do is, I use Agoda, and there's a link in the description. And Agoda, you can go and you can book a hotel, and I usually recommend booking about 3 or 4 days initially. So when you first get out here, just do maybe 3 days or so, and then once that's booked and you arrive, you're only in the hotel for 3-4 days. So if it's not a good hotel, not a good location, you're just there for a few days. Or you could even, you know, leave early, and really you're not losing out on too much. And then if you want to stay long term, you want to go find that Airbnb, contact them and arrange to meet. That happens all the time. I do that quite often. I'll go out to the Airbnb or rental, rentpad.com I use sometimes for the bigger cities in the Philippines, Facebook Marketplace. Those are all places I use to find my rentals, whether short-term or long-term. Go look at the place. Don't just blindly book an Airbnb without ever looking at it or looking at the neighborhood, or you just never know what could happen or what can go wrong. Test the internet speed. You know, is there loud neighbors? Is there parties? You know, what have you? Are the grounds upkept? Do you want to get there and then you find out the pool's been closed for the last 3 months, or the place has cockroaches or whatever? You know, some of these reviews, especially since the pandemic, are old reviews, and the place has just went downhill. So that's what I do initially. Go to agoda.com or use my link down in the description. Book a hotel for 3 days or so. Get a feel for the city, kind of drive around, go to the different areas and find out an area that you like and try to book maybe a long-term Airbnb that way. The other option, or the other thing that I recommend when you come out here, is if you have, for example, if you're in a long-distance relationship and you have never met in person, I don't recommend these, what I call the scoop and swoop, where they meet you at the airport and immediately you are kind of locked in almost. You know, they pick you up immediately, they're kind of taking charge, and they're you know, going here, going there, and they're with you for the remainder of your stay. Some people don't really have the heart to say, hey, you know, the chemistry's not there, whatever, you know, you feel bad or whatever reasons you have. But I recommend, especially after an extremely long flight, is just go ahead and say, listen, we will meet the next day. We'll meet at the coffee shop, and you can either turn it into long term, or a long date, or you can end it quickly if there's just no chemistry or the appearance is not what you expected, and vice versa. If a Filipina is meeting somebody, I would recommend the same thing. Just make it a coffee date the next day. I mean, you're going to fly in anyway into the Philippines. It's going to be a long day. You're going to be tired, jet-lagged, be hungry. You'll be ready for a shower. You'll probably be ready to hit the sack. And really, it's just not a good situation to be picked up at the airport and then maybe immediately they've got family with them. And it can be kind of a awkward or bad situation possibly. Hey, I get it if you've talked to them for a long time and things are great online, chances are probably it'll be great too when you meet, but you just never know. I also don't recommend going to stay at their place initially either. Take a few days alone, get to know each other, then go meet the family. Don't go meet family immediately until you're sure you're serious. It's not only for you, but for them, saving face. They're bringing you to their family to introduce you to everyone, their friends, their neighbors, whatever. And all of a sudden, it doesn't work out, and you've kind of caused them to lose a little bit of face, and it's a little embarrassing for them as well. They've just taken you to their home and introduced you to their family and neighbors and everybody. So, it's for them as well. The other thing is I don't recommend moving directly into an apartment or a condo immediately until you know exactly where within the city you want to live. Perhaps the city's not even the right place. Perhaps you get to, for example, I don't know, perhaps you get to Cebu City, and after a week or so there, you realize, gosh, this is not really what I was expecting. This is not really for me. Or maybe you get to Cebu City and you're in a certain area, and you say, hey, I like Cebu City, but I don't like this area. Maybe I want to go live in IT Park, or maybe I want to go live in Cebu Business Park, or maybe I want to be closer to the airport at Mactan, Newtown. So just don't get into any long-term lease immediately. Use Airbnb or RentPad for short-term apartments or condos or what have you. Do that, for a couple months, maybe 3 months. Really, I don't think I would recommend even more than 3 months. I wouldn't go long term until about 3 months, until you know where in the city you want to be. Make sure you know how well the place is kept and how convenient it is to different locations and stores or whatever. And then also the city, maybe jump around a little bit initially when you get here. Maybe put your stuff into storage. Maybe somebody here, or there's storage units around that you can use. And maybe go spend a month in Davao, or go spend a month in Cebu, a month in Manila, wherever. Just kind of do the repeat process. Book a hotel using my link down below for Agoda.com. for about the first 3 days, and then if you like it there and you want to stay longer and you want something more long-term, contact some Airbnbs and go stay in the Airbnb, for a month once you've looked at it, and figure out where in the city you want to be before you do anything long-term. Don't sign into any leases, put deposits down, don't do any of that. And the last thing I would talk about is, I don't know what happens to us foreigners when we get here, and I'm guilty as well, but a lot of guys when they first get here, it's like they've never dated in their life, and I hear of guys who have met girls and within the week they're moving in with them, and I don't know if it's maybe they're just overwhelmed. Hey, all of a sudden I got this beautiful 25-year-old Filipina is interested in me, and she's loving and she's sweet, and it's just an overwhelming experience, especially for our Western guys who've been starved of female companionship, perhaps. But things seem to move extremely fast in the Philippines. I see guys all the time moving their girlfriends in after a week. So it could be for that reason. It could also be that maybe they feel bad about their living conditions. Maybe the girl's in a small little boarding house with no running water and outdoor toilet or whatever. And I would still recommend, trying to slow things down. If you want to help her out, and give her a few thousand pesos a month, or maybe move her from a small little boarding house to a little bit of a nicer apartment. I mean, you can do that very inexpensively, and continue to get to know each other without moving her in immediately. Just kind of slow things down, take a step back. It's all overwhelming at first to have beautiful, younger females all of a sudden interested in you. You go from the West where you're invisible. I did a video on that recently, and then all of a sudden you get here and voila, you're visible again, and you're not only visible, but you're attracting younger, prettier girls than you did in the West probably. So just slow things way down. Anyway, if you want the written form a little bit more in-depth and a little more comprehensive, go to geointhephilippines.com. You can see this blog as well as many others. My Geo in the Philippines Essential list for things you should have when you come out to the Philippines, things that you should probably bring with you from the West, things that I recommend, and a lot of other things on my website. Still growing all the time, still publishing new articles all the time. So anyway, questions, comments, let's go ahead and have that discussion down below. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.